Hey, this is Matt once again. We're back to another video, and this is a paid request for Ben. Very nice guy. Hope you're doing well, my friend. For those interested, request any type of videos, movie reviews, re-reviews, topics, tier lists, video game playthroughs for an hour, or full playthrough, tier list, ranking, whatever the case may be, feel free to send it either directly on my PayPal, do have a CashApp as well. Links are down below in the info box, and I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. For those who sent them, thank you. I do appreciate it. And this is for Band of the Hands from 1986, which I believe I did review this many years ago. So this is a re-review, which I'm perfectly fine with doing. Because sometimes opinions change, or sometimes I can maybe articulate a bit better the second time around, or so on and so forth. Now, this is a film that was directed by Paul Michael Glaser. This is the guy who was one of the stars of Starsky and Hutch. This is the first film he directed, because after this he did The Running Man, which I love, one of my favorite Schwarzenegger movies. I think he also did The Cutting Edge, which I remember now minding for what kind of film it is. And this was executive produced by Michael Mann. Now, some trivia says this was a failed TV pilot. I never heard that confirmed. Now, at times it seems like a TV pilot. It seems like it's set up for an upcoming show. But, yeah, I don't know if that trivia is correct about that. But it is a film where it did come out on Blu-ray. I want to say Mill Creek Entertainment. And not a bad Blu-ray. I mean, there's not much in features. You can find online Philip Michael Glaser talking about it for a couple minutes, that apparently when he filmed it, he was new and he wasn't 100% sure on what he was doing, and he was behind, and the studio was kind of pushing, like, hey, what are you doing? Why is it taking so long? And at one point, it seemed like they wanted to fire him, but Michael Mann said no, let him finish the job. And then it came to a point where Philip Michael Glaser said, listen, either you let me finish this, or I'll quit. Now, I don't think this film did much, but something must have happened, something must have occurred, someone must have seen it and liked it, because he got the job because he said in the interview I found, which was weird, he said that this hurt him for quite a few years, but that doesn't make sense because he did The Running Man the next year, because that came out 87, this was 86, so I don't know. But this is a film that I thought had that fun 80s attitude and style that's helped by a good cast, pretty solid soundtrack. And while I do wish there was a bit more character development on a chunk of the characters, and maybe a bit more choreographed action scenes, because the action scenes are fine, but nothing spectacular. The characters are interesting, fun enough, but I wish there was a bit more depth to some of this stuff. Overall, I would say I liked it. I probably don't like it as much as when I first saw the film, but I do like the movie. I think it's a decent film. Most of that for me is the cast, because you got Stephen Lane, who will later be in Avatar, Don't Breathe, many other movies. He was the bad guy in The Hard Way with James Woods and Michael J. Fox. You have your kids, which are two gang leaders, one played by Michael Carmine, which around this time, he was in quite a few films, I remember. He was in Leviathan. You can't see it, but got the laser disc here. Favorite of Mine from 1989 with Peter Weller, Richard Crenna. Michael Carmine was in that film. He was in Batteries Not Included. He was kind of the leader of the thugs, who kind of becomes a good guy at the end, kind of. He's the one who brings the flowers at the end, and realizes he doesn't be looked at, and kind of just Jessica Tandy kept thinking it was her son. So that's Michael Carmine. Sally passed away, I think, late 80s, early 90s. I don't know if it was AIDS or... He passed away way too young, I know that, sadly. Because I always liked him as an actor. The other gang leader is Leon, who I remember in Cliffhanger. He's the one fighting Stallone, and Stallone grabs and impales him in the stalactite. You also have this guy who's kind of an arsonist, can make bombs, and he shoots his abusive dad. And for the chunk of the movie, he doesn't talk until a primary moment where he does talk. You have this guy who was a younger guy who dealt with drugs, drug deals. That actor was, oh, what was his name? Danny Quinn. I'm like, I know this guy looks familiar. And I don't know if I realized this when I reviewed this the first time. He was on that TV show Space Rangers, which only lasted like 6 episodes, but I do remember that show had a cool opening. Just like Terayuki Tagawa and Clint Howard and Linda Lay, all these other actors were in it. And it only ran for a couple episodes, but he was in the cast. And then you have this other guy who stole cars, but he known for escaping these various places. So you have 5 people. So we see each of these 5 and how they get arrested. They think they're going to juvie, but instead they've been kind of bumped up to adult offenders. But instead of having a hard time, they're going to this program. As part of the program, they're thrust into this swamp area and left behind. So the 5 are confused. What's going on? Why are we in the swamp? I forget if it was Louisiana. I forget where exactly, but it's in the swamp. And they meet this guy played by Stephen Lane. He's a Vietnam vet. His name is Joe. And pretty much he's going to teach him about outdoor survival. He doesn't take shit from anybody. He's not a man with a whole lot of words. As he puts it, live or die. That's the stint of, what are we out here for? You do this, you live. You do that, you die. Is that simple enough for you? And it shows kind of them eventually learning to survive out there in the wild. How to eat. One tries to escape and gets bit by a snake. They catch a boar. A little bit of fight in between. A little bit of argument. We don't want to do anything. But then it's raining, so they need something, to live in. Now, I do wish we could have gotten more character development in this. I get it. You don't want to make the film 2.5 hours long or anything. But they're together, I get it, and they do a couple things together, like trying to catch this boar, wondering what they're eating, and some of them getting sick, realizing what kind of stuff they're eating is before the whole catching the boar scene. Marco Carmine and Leon sometimes fight with each other. But at the same time, like I said, I wish there was more character development and depth. Michael Carmine and Leon maybe kind of trying to talk to each other and being antagonistic, and then realizing they have something in common. Like maybe they both had a dad who died on the streets. So they're both guys who grew up without a dad, or something else. That it's something bonding. Like to actually see the bonding between the guys. Whether it be the cliche things, like maybe one of them knows a song and they all start humming this song, or there's a game they know, or even like they try to play football with some, like bonding moments. I don't think we got nearly enough bonding moments for me to buy that they become this team. For example, the guy that always tries to escape, he gets bit by a snake and he comes back, he's kind of seasoned, they hold him down and he's fine. And then Marco Carmen's like, he's back. I'm like, why is he so excited? You barely know this guy. You barely said 5 words to this guy. So why are you now so happy that he's alive? Like, how did one lead to the other? And I think I mean, that's the catch-22. There's these I don't know. I just wish there was a bit more development on that. I just, again, more bonding scenes of that nature. I would like to have seen that more. So it gets to a point where Joe says, you get to this point, you graduate, you're on your own. They go on a little journey. A couple things happen. They escape a bear. Michael Carmine and Leon get into it. One tries to drown the other, and the guy who's been mute all along, he finally snaps and goes, "Stop it! We need to work together or we'll die out here." So it snaps him out of it because this guy is finally not only talking but getting riled up and angry. They see a big cat like a panther. Doesn't attack him, but they see him. They're cutting through the fields and stuff until they eventually get to where they need to go. And then pretty much Stephen Lane goes, "You guys graduated, time to go to Miami." So Miami, they set up a place. They find that there's some people live there. They're unsure about that, but then there's these other assholes trying to push them out. So our lead characters push them out, who are junkies, and the innocent people they allowed to stay there. They paint, they fix up the place. These people trying to fuck with them in the park. They work together, fighting these people in the park. And that's where you kind of introduce to your bad guys. You got Laurence Fishburne, who's the, I guess you would say he's the guy, I guess you call him a pimp. He's kind of the guy running the neighborhood. And then you got James Remar, who's the drug guy who Danny Quinn's character knows about. He has a girlfriend played by Lauren Holly, who would later be in Dumb and Dumber. And she was with Danny Quinn, but now she's kind of with James Remar, but not wanting to be with him, kind of forced. Not kind of, but forced into it. And again, what helps the film is that it does have a good attitude to it. It has that 80s flavor, and the way the actors are, the way they converse with each other. I think there is some decent chemistry with each other. I think they all work well together for what little they have. Stephen Lane is actually a pretty good presence as the lead. Kind of like in VFW years later. He was good in that too. Again, when the action scenes happen, they're fun enough. They're practical. The gunfire. I mean, it's weird how you see stuff like this. And it may seem simple. It may seem antiquated. But it's works because it's all done for real in camera, and that still looks impressive than a bunch of CGI shit today. And also, I mentioned the soundtrack. I mean, the main theme is done by Bob Dylan. Can't go wrong with that. Bob Dylan, Band of the Hand. I'm guessing Michael Mann helped get that happen, I would assume. Because Bob Dylan doesn't do a whole lot of main themes for movies, or at least his songs aren't used a lot for the main theme of a movie. So you got Bob Dylan, Prince. There's a party scene, and you hear, "Let's go crazy, let's get nuts." Do. Yeah, that song, "These Broken Wings." Is it Mr.? I always forget the band's name. "Say these broken wings." Which I'm like, oh shit, I haven't heard that song. I remember hearing that song all the time back in the day. But I'm like, damn. Probably the last time I heard that song was the last time I saw this movie. So, like, damn. It has been a while since I've heard that fucking song. I liked it. Of the characters, I would say Danny Quinn I liked the most. But he probably had the most to do. Because he kind of knew what was going on with James Remar. You have him with his girlfriend. You have him kind of thinking of leaving the group. But eventually coming back. When our lead characters are fighting Laurence Fishburne's goons out on the streets, he comes in with a car and makes the big save. Big turnaround of the battle. So I would say of all of them, he gets the most character-wise. The others know so much. Marco Carmine, I kind of wish had more to do. Which is funny because when they bill the actors at the end, he's like second billed. But like I say, I thought he was going to have a lot more to do character-wise with him and Leon. There's a few bits where you realize they start helping each other, and one gets wounded and the other helps him. So at the beginning they're ready to kill each other, but at the end they're one helping each other when one gets wounded. So there's that at least. But I guess I was left wanting more on that. Stephen Lane, I thought he did a good job. Spoiler alert, I thought he had some good bits of acting. When he's like realizing that a big battle's coming, and he's kind of talking about how the program that he's doing hasn't worked out the best before. He's like, I lost all the causes. I lost all the people, lost all the kids. And he's upset. He feels that he didn't do enough for the kids before, and they went back to dying on the streets or dying while doing some kind of illegal activity or something of that nature. So you just see his pain. And I thought Stephen Lane did a good job. As he wants this group to be like fingers on a hand, a fire team. Eventually, during that battle, spoiler, Stephen Lane and Laurence Fishburne shoot each other, and they both die. So now they don't have their leader. So at first they're going to separate, but they come back together. They realize James Remar ordered the hit. He's the man. He's the guy to be taken down. Now, I get the symbolism, but when they do this thing where they all kind of do like this, they kind of do like this, I get it, but it does look goofy when everyone's kind of like, they have this hand here, and then the hand's like there, but they're not touching. It may be typical. I'd kind of rather be like this, that kind of thing. And then you have the shot. Like, you could have done this, put your hand in, and then have the shot with all the hands joined together. I think that would have been less goofy than them kind of doing this, and as if it's like a Vulcan mind meld, but they don't know how to do it. So, I don't know. And then you have your final battle. And the final battle is fine. Some practical gunfire, there's some practical explosions. They all have their moments. Well, some have their moments. So, spoilers. There's the one guy, the smaller guy, the arsonist bomb guy, again, the guy that was mute for half of the movie. He's able to go in and plant, this stuff to get them kind of out of the building, help plant some bombs. Danny Quinn is kind of like a sniper, taking shots at people. While Marco Carmine, Leon, and the other guy, they're kind of out there shooting some of the bad guys, planting a bomb here or there. The big part of it is there's this big, massive minigun, which I thought was kind of cool. This mounted minigun. They shoot one guy, another guy comes up, and then tell the one guy is able to put a bomb in there and blow it up. So that's the big thrust of that action scene, is the bad guy having... I kind of wish one of the good guys got that minigun and used it on the bad guys. I think that would have been cool. But, it is what it is. Lauren Holly is able to kill James Remar since he was messing with her. For some reason, James Remar had this whole backstory with voodoo. I thought that was kind of weird and random. Because, like, he steers her by showing a bit of it. Then at one point, before they're ready for battle, they see that he was there and stuff was painted on the wall. What looked like blood or stuff. So it's just kind of weird that James Remar kind of like just random, like this voodoo thing. Which didn't go a whole lot anywhere. So I thought that was, again, kind of weird. Michael Carmine gets wounded, but they all get out and they all... I do like this moment where they get stopped by the cops. They all act very nice and innocent, and which is smart to do. oh, these are young kids, let them go, and then they go off. So it is a fun movie. It's a movie that's paced well enough that I was never bored. It goes at a good pace. It has that little bit of Miami Vice flavor, not just because it takes place parts in Miami, and then the soundtrack. Maybe that is the case. So nothing wrong with having a Miami lace flavor. I mean, hello, I'd rather watch this than that 2006 whatever Miami Vice movie with Jamie Foxx, which I hated that movie. This is like a better Miami Vice movie than that. But yeah, the soundtrack and the cast worked well together. Not a ton of action, because I would say like those two when they fight Laurence. Well, that's not true. When they did in that little fisticuff in the park, the shootout with Laurence Fishburne, and then the shootout at the end, are really the three main action set pieces. They did their fine. It's nothing remarkable. It's not RoboCop, The Running Man, Terminator. But they worked for what they need to do. But I said the actors, it's a solid cast. Good soundtrack. Quick enough pace. And I just wish there was a little bit more, maybe a Paul Michael Glaser, him or someone else had a bit more handle on the action. And a bit more character development, a bit more of the bonding, a bit more quiet moments between, like Michael Carmine and Leon, moments where they talk, moments where they share, moments where they bond over a few things that they can relate to, or they can, oh, I know how that goes because this happened to me, or that, moments like that I think would have been nice for the development of the characters, but overall, it's still a fun movie. I still like the film. So take that for what you will. I forget, like, there was something called, what was it, the Stinker Awards? This was nominated for Worst Picture? Seriously? I think Howard the Duck won, but why would this be... You tell me... I mean, 1986 is probably my favorite year for movies, so there's a ton of movies that year I love. But you tell me this is one of the top 5... Give me a break. Fuck off with that. So, but with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye for now.